On this installment of Forever Spinning, we peer into a synth-pop and post-punk classic as we dissect New Order's sophomore effort, Power, Corruption, and Lies.
Perfect!
After the untimely death of Ian Curtis, who was Joy Division's unequivocal leader, the remaining band members were lost. Not sure what to do, they took some time off to grieve and think things over. And that is exactly what Bernard Sumner, Peter Hook, and Stephen Morris did. They created New Order, a completely different band from Joy Division, as they didn't want to constantly live in the shadow of Ian's legacy. And with the help of Morris's then-girlfriend, Gillian Gibbert, the band set out to create something new. Their first record, Movement, was one full of experimentation. The band slowly transitioned away from their iconic Joy Division sound, opting instead to use funkier guitars and rely much more heavily on drum machine patterns. It was met with mixed critical reviews, but is still looked upon as an intriguing project. It wouldn't be until their next album, 1983's Power, Corruption, and Lies, that they would truly come into their own. Not only had they begun to harness their new sound, but on top of that, vocalist Bernard Sumner was finally finding his voice. New Order was finally moving on from their days as Joy Division, and some could even argue that Power, Corruption, and Lies is truly the first New Order record. They released their only single to go alongside this album on March 7th, 1983, titled Blue Monday. I'll speak more on this track when we get to the singles section. In typical New Order fashion, Blue Monday was released as a 12-inch single, but then was never to be found on Power, Corruption, and Lies. However, they did take some ideas and themes from Blue Monday and manipulated them for their new project. This new signature sound of alternative dance and synth pop became the sonic playground on which New Order would play. Their new sonic identity required a new distinctive look for the album's packaging. New Order also had to come up with a name for this new project as well. Some suggestions included How Does It Feel, which was a reference to Blue Monday, as well as Piss Off You Shitheads, a reference to Your Silent Face. The group landed on Power, Corruption, and Lies, which was an art exhibition done by Gerard Richter. Richter had spray painted this phrase on the Kunsthalle building in Germany. Sumner had been there in 1981 and saw the conceptual art piece. The group then turned to cover designer Peter Saville, who was given the task of making an appropriate art piece for the record. After failed attempts of his own, Saville decided to use the famous painting A Basket of Roses by Henry Fantin Latour. After some give and take, he was eventually granted permission by the National Gallery to use this as the album's cover. Saville had also just developed a code to translate color patterns into letters and numbers, essentially a color-coded alphabet. He then put this code onto the top right-hand side of the album's cover, along with a large colored circle on the back cover. By matching the correct color pattern to the key, you can translate the code into words and numbers. So in short, yes, this is much more impressive than simply using colored blocks for aesthetic reasons. Once all of this was accomplished, New Order was ready to release their newest musical statement. And on May 2nd, 1983, Power, Corruption, and Lies was released on Factory Records to immediate critical acclaim. The only single to come out with Power, Corruption, and Lies is Blue Monday, which was released on March 7th, 1983. As previously stated, this song is not found on the album's final track list. New Order had a tendency of doing this kind of thing, as their first 8 singles were released on 7 or 12-inch vinyl records and were never found on the albums themselves. Blue Monday was easily the first real hit for New Order, as it became a staple for raves all across the world. The simple chord pattern and pulsating drum machine backbone has aided in positioning Blue Monday into becoming a synth-pop classic. Some of Blue Monday was retooled to create the song 5H6, which is actually on Power, Corruption, and Lies. Originally, the song was written as a way to ease into encores at the end of their shows. The band could simply start the drum machine and leave the stage, although eventually coming back on to perform the song. Blue Monday is a very unlikely hit, mostly due to the strange placement of the verses and the lack of a hook. There have been many remixes of the song, most notably by New Order in both 1988 and 1995. The song is praised for being a major link between the dying genre of disco and the emerging genres of house and dance. Once again, it was a defining moment for the band, as they were finally coming into their own, not strictly as a post-punk band, but also as an alternative dance and synth-pop group. In essence, their little experiment changed not only the course of their own sound, but also the sounds of countless other genres. It is the best-selling 12-inch single of all time, with over 1.1 million copies sold. It charted in many countries across the world, but the most impressive feat has to be in New Zealand, where it peaked at number 2, but stayed on the top 50 for 74 weeks across the time frame of 3 years. Without a doubt, Blue Monday is one of the most influential and important songs of all time, but even so, New Order decided not to put it on Power, Corruption, and Lies. Like I mentioned, Blue Monday is the only single to come out alongside this album, besides for the B-side, The Beach, so I decided I'm going to talk about the album's opening song, Age of Consent. One of the most iconic New Order songs, mostly due to the undeniably catchy bass line, Age of Consent sets the mood for what is to come on Power, Corruption, and Lies. Sumner really finds his voice on this cut, as he sings about wanting to leave the relationship that he's currently in, but not being able to find the words to say it. Now, this is just a personal hunch, but but I always took these lyrics as the band wanting to leave the old ways of Joy Division, but could never speak the words aloud as they never felt comfortable. Nevertheless, the lyrics are potent and catchy as Sumner finally shows off the real range in his vocals. Age of Consent is another classic that has been played 208 times live in concert since being debuted in 1982. It was actually very recently revealed that the drums on the song are actually just a reworking of the drums from the Joy Division track Love Will Tear Us Apart. Originally produced by Martin Hannett, who had produced Joy Division as well as the first New Order album, the group slightly tweaked Morris's drums to fit on Age of Consent. I know that I usually go on to talk about a third song, but I genuinely think that if I did, we would be here all day. So I'm gonna end the single section with just these two songs. If you're looking for more information on these songs, New Order has actually just released a new podcast that details the band's history. It is a wonderfully enriching listen and I highly recommend it. It is titled Transmissions, the definitive story of Joy Division and New Order. I will leave a link to it down below. I think that it's safe to say that the musical world would not be the same without New Order. Aside from revolutionizing the post-punk genre with Joy Division, they also brought forth a new age of synth pop with Power, Corruption, and Lies. Changing the game is no easy task, that is most certain. But to change the face of multiple genres while still going through their own growing pains as a band, Jesus man, I don't even know how they must have felt. Not in the accomplishing feeling of looking back on everything and understanding the fruits of your labor, but to actually be in the moment of doing the unthinkable. Going from Movement, which is a perfectly fine album by all accounts, to then coming into your own and maturing into something that had never been done before, taking the risks of making a song like Blue Monday, which started off as an experiment and then turned into the top-selling 12-inch record of all time. I can't even wrap my head around it all. My next statement may overstep the boundaries and sound a little bit too Stanish, but I believe that Power, Corruption, and Lies to be one of the most important records for the growth of modern music. And when I say that, I seriously mean up there with the greats, like the Beatles pushing the limitations of pop music, Michael Jackson pushing the limitations of what a pop star could be, and even to a lesser, more modern extent, Kanye West with 808s and Heartbreak spawning countless new genres. New Order found something utterly astounding with a simple drum machine that would be the backbone of synthpop, dance, house, and a multitude of other genres in years to come. Now, it also must be stated that they were not the first ones to do it. There were obviously other bands who tried out this newfangled device before New Order got their hands on it, but it is what they were able to do with it that is so impressive. Blue Monday and Power, Corruption, and Lies being released is one of those defining moments in music history. There are very few artists out there that can truly say it and it actually has some meaning behind it. Maybe I'm overpraising it, but to my ear, I feel as though this praise is deserved. It is also inspiring to think about what humanity is actually capable of even during our most vulnerable times, and that the possibilities truly are endless as long as you're willing to reach for them. So, whether you've never heard this album before, or if it is a personal favorite of yours, New Order's Power, Corruption, and Lies will always be forever spinning. Thanks for watching.